Hola, welcome to Financially Savvy in 20 Minutes, a bilingual podcast that shares interviews with self-made millionaires, financially savvy investors, and all things financial literacy and dinero. Your host, Natalie Torres, is a two-time TEDx speaker and award-winning author, investor, and financially savvy Latina that has been featured on NBC, Telemundo, and Forbes as a financial literacy and mental health advocate. She is joined by her co-host, Vira, an author, investor, and seasoned insurance professional.
Welcome back to Financially Savvy in 20 Minutes. This is part 2 of a 3-part episode. If you haven't listened to part 1 yet, make sure to go do that first. Thanks for listening.
Sharing the talk where I'm like, my last deal made me well over more than $500,000. And that was just one deal. And the very first one I did literally didn't make me anything. And that was 20 years ago. And if I would have quit then, I didn't have social media to show, the check or the building, and just things that I wish now would be cool to be able to show, like, oh, here I am in front of this video.
Yeah,
but
totally.
But we're now sharing it, whether it's through audio and using these helpful tools. I think AI can be something like social media, where we see so many negative aspects of social media, but there's obviously those good wins that we have with social media that we're hoping AI can be. At least I'm trying to be hopeful in that sense, because the things that I've done with AI have been helpful, but there's a lot of things that you and I, if anyone has not seen Cristela, which I'm hoping we can get her on the show, she's a funny comedian, Latina, Mexican, American. And she talked about, she's in her 40s, her late 40s as well. And, and I'm like, oh my God, Vera and I need to have her on. But she talked about hey, we were the generation that went through the first computers, the first phones, the first pagers, the first,
cool.
When the internet was still winding up and you can hear the actual connecting to a modem, or you don't even know what that is. And, explaining to her niece and nephews, we used to have 5 people use the same phone line at home, and we've overcome those things and we evolved with it. And so I think our generation is used to it. And I'm hoping we will not only do well because of it, because we've had to learn all these new technologies that our parents didn't deal with, and even our children are not going to have to deal with certain new stuff, right? Who knows, the iPhone 20, 25, 50, whatever. We don't know what's next.
My aunt, I can't remember how old she is. Right now I'm spacing, but she's old. Anyway, she grew up no television, okay? Mm-hmm. Not even, it was she knew there was a concept of it, but she's 13 years old, so super poor. They barely had a roof over their house. They there was no access to just running water, the refrigerator, all of these things where all of that was magic, right?
Yes.
So I'm everyone was saying oh, TV is rotting people's brains. I love TV, you guys. I love watching shows, and I know I know that the phone and social media is a whole other level of what it could be doing to our brain. And yes, I think we're not so much addicted to our phones as we are addicted to the internet, but again, that's a whole other conversation. But I think it's going to potentially, there's going to be a lot of bumps along the way. But eventually we'll get on the other side of it where we're using it in our favor.
Yes.
I just don't want to end up, if you guys have not watched the movie WALL-E, watch it. Because all those, those people, they're just blobs on this weird floating things, everything's done for you. I don't want that for us. And if we're not careful, we're going to really rely on convenience and instant gratification even more than we do now. And we're just going to be lazy and not want to do anything.
You're the second person I've heard say about WALL-E recently. And then another
really?
movie. Yes, I'm not joking. And the other one that I heard that I have not seen in probably 2 decades was Idiocracy.
Yes.
It's a fake movie, but it's feeling like a documentary now.
Yeah.
So you're right. It's just kind of, how do we evolve? And I just think about podcasting, the fact that you and I have been doing this. This is our 200th episode, but we've been doing this for years now. This what Mark said, 11 years now. And the way podcasting has changed so much within the last few years, the last decade alone. And for the better, I think. I mean, there's moments actually today, I was really frustrated because my camera's not working or something with our platform. And I thought, oh my God, I miss the days when you would literally always recording with your little device. And that's just how it was. There was no other outlet. And you had to be in front of that person one-on-one, which I do miss in a sense. But how wonderful is this that you and I can connect different parts of the world with other people in different languages? And so, I'm hopeful of what technology can do for us. But like you just said,
Yeah.
stand up for what we know can be useful, and find ways that will be lucrative for you. Because I think too often we make things, I know I do, make things very complicated. And I actually wanted to ask you, Vera, what your question is for this. I mean, we're kicking off the season, right? Or kicking off this year. I mean, it's March, good Lord. It felt like January was like 2 days ago.
I know. I
Um,
know. It went by too fast.
too fast. But I think the question, I know you and I always end at the year with questions like, what do we want for ourselves? And is there something that you're working on right now that's helping you navigate how you want to not only attract more money, attract more abundance in your life, um, but help you just kind of like keep your reality check for yourself. And I want you to think about it for a
Yeah.
second. I'll share what I'm coming up with, but for me, I think is the boundary for myself. Boundaries that I've always talked about boundaries with others, but for myself, because I'm constantly, my expectations are sometimes unreasonable for myself and definitely for others. So I'm learning to detach myself from that. So detachment is really something that I want to focus on this year, along with my boundaries, because I feel, and I think technology does that for us. We're like, oh, well, we can do it all. And you see someone this morning, lovely person who I love following. I'm not going to mention. I love seeing her like, this is what it was for my day. Like, and she's an incredible mom, business, all these. And you see this amazing little reel for like 60 seconds of her day, and I'm like, I'm not going to curse today. I'm trying to be good. but I'm like, what the really like, and it's I'm not trying to compare my life to her because it's very different and resources and everything too. But it's also kind of like, there it goes. I have to detach myself. We all have different states in life. We all have different resources. And my good day could be a very good day, different for her, vice versa. But also understanding that we are creating our own realities in different capacities. And for me, letting go of the expectation of like, oh, I need to do what she's doing in order to have that same outcome, which isn't a real expectation for myself. So I'm working on, if that's a long answer, boundaries, attachment, and with the expectations that I feel comfortable knowing that, we're good enough the way we are. So
Yeah.
2026, let's hope I keep that as my, I don't want to say affirmation, but just that reminder, because I do
Your
feel like I'm
North
coming
Star,
short.
right?
Yes, the North Star. I feel like I'm coming short half of the time. I'm like, I still don't know how to do that on AI, or I still don't know how to do this. And I'm like, my niece just figured it out before I did. So,
Yeah.
what's yours?
I think the question that I have dangling in front of me is,
Mhm.
what is my breakthrough?
Mm.
And the reason why I have that is because, believe it or not, guys, it might look like Natalie and I are not afraid of taking things on. But we've had these conversations and sometimes we're terrified.
Hmm.
Sometimes you said it, like overcomplicate things, we overthink it, and I don't know. And I can feel it sometimes that I'm holding myself back because once you get to a certain point, uh like my friend a long time ago said it well, and this is not by any means being arrogant, and you don't have to be a CEO for this, but it's just the concept of it. You stop having work problems, you let's not say problems, work conversations. You now start having CEO conversations, CEO problems, like
Mm.
wealth problems, right?
Yeah.
Again, not in a negative sense. It's just more like, why am I afraid to push even further? Why am I afraid that if I go for that, it's going to be more responsibility, higher risk? I start thinking about like, can something go wrong? But what if everything goes right, right? Like
Yeah.
that big question. So it's like, it's that conversation of like, leave scarcity behind, leave the fear of the risk behind, and really step into and embrace wealth problems again in
Yeah.
the best way, right? Not a problem like a negative, but just like the conversations that come with bigger money.
Ooh, Vera, you're my free therapist today. I love my therapist. Shout out to her. But no, you just hit it right in the nail. And you're right. You and I constantly are like, oh my God, this is the first time I'm doing this, or maybe I'm doing this again. And if it wasn't for, I have a mentor who I just had a call with a few days ago. and he's the one that keeps pushing me to like that, like stretch myself. Like, hey, and what was it I've heard recently? It says, the unknown or the uncertain isn't to break you, it's to give you a breakthrough. And
Yeah. Oh, I love
you
that.
just
I got goosebumps.
yeah, and you just said it like we are having, different managerial, you could say, or wealth problems, or not problems, the scarcity mindset. And
Yeah.
I wonder sometimes where I'm like, what is my problem? Especially last year when I decided to share it. I was so afraid, and I'll be honest with you guys, totally raw right now. I didn't even share it on my post because I've shared in my posts multiple times at different times last few years on on how I'm doing financially, because obviously people are wondering, and I don't want to be the person like, okay, never share anything. But I posted it on a story because I was not sure how people would take it. And I was right. A lot of people were like, "Whoa, like that's amazing," and just kind of like, or they had no clue, or and then there's just obviously your haters, right? But it was that kind of, I was afraid to put, maybe I'll do that if I have the nerves to do it on my actual post. But it was also kind of like I also felt it's nobody's business but mine, and I can care less what people think in that sense. And so it gives me that piece of knowing that I can keep some of that privacy. And those that follow my stories is because they're most likely following me, right? And allowing myself that's how I can push myself to try better, bigger things and things that I'm afraid of. And you just said it like, oh, what if it does go all well? And why
Yeah.
do I feel my bank account's going to go zero? And what if it does? It doesn't mean I don't know how to make it up again. Of
I
course I
know
do.
we've done it before.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I have to remind myself, like, it's not like we were always here. We've done it
Mm-mm.
before. But the thing is, I genuinely in my heart know that it will always be great. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's just this harmony of like, my motto is always like, we'll figure it out. And that just is that for me, because I'm not like a religious person.
Hmm.
If you lean more towards that, you would understand it is I have faith.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I have faith.
Yeah.
Everything is always working out for me and everything always will. But then why am I afraid of bigger money sometimes, And it's funny, we know Sandra and we've had her on the show before and we were talking about these clients and these are like some of them are like multi-million, almost billion-dollar clients and it's like sometimes we can't process something but
Hmm.
because we're not at that level yet. And so
No.
like how can you we don't even allow ourselves to process like $1 billion. You know what I
No.
mean? And I'm like, why the hell am I not allowing myself to process $1 billion? Not that I want like I don't
But to
I think
think
again,
bigger.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like I don't want to create more disparity between the classes. It's not what I'm talking about, but just like why are all of us so afraid to think in $10 million, $100 million levels? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Put whatever number you can think $20,000. It just depends on where you're at. Like,
You just hit it like this is now 2 weeks ago, I went to the Latina History Day. It was 35th annual for Hope Latinas organization. And I was sitting at a table with college students. I forgot what program they're in, but they're about to graduate. So they're like beautiful doe-eyed and just like brilliant, and you just know they're gonna change. Literally, these women are gonna change the world. Like I could tell,
yeah.
just smart, and I was just so in awe with them. And it made me just kind of think. I was sitting next to an electrical engineer. She's a badass in her own, and she's the first in her family Mexican American. Like we had such a good conversation about her we had a lot of similarities, and in our 40s and talking about like what we've been through. And then I thought, if somebody would tell me what I'm telling these girls right now, how different would it be, right? But then had that conversation with her, and I'm like, we probably wouldn't believe them even if they told us. And it's that where you just said it, like, why can't I think a little bit bigger? I kind of think of it's like when we're working out, um we're not going to start out, or you're running, let's say, you're not going to start off doing the marathon. You're going to learn how to run or walk first and then run the first mile and then do a half a marathon and, whatever Ks you're going to do. And then eventually the full marathon, because your brain almost doesn't know how to process the whole
Yeah.
thing. And I still remember the first full marathon I did. I think right before like the 18th mile mark. And that's when everyone says, oh, that's when you start to really break down. And it's true because you're kind of by yourself at that point. And I remember crying like, why am I crazy doing
Why
this?
am I doing this?
Yes. And then you get to the 26th mile and the point two is the hard part. And and it's because you're constantly, your brain is trying to figure out what else can you push yourself to do?
Yeah.
And then, I did multiple marathons after that. But what I always think about when I'm so emotionally exhausted, like I'm reading a few different books that are kind of out of my comfort zone because I'm trying to understand things that have happened in the past and that are currently happening again in our economy. Just because I see a lot of resemblance from 2008 and obviously, which is sad to say, from the Great Depression in 1930.
Yeah.
Hold that thought, Vera. We're going to finish up with part 3. Stay tuned. To learn more about the podcast, follow us on Instagram at FinSavvy in 20 minutes and catch our interviews on YouTube. If you want to become a sponsor, hire us for your next workshop or speaking engagement, reach out to us at financiallysavvyin20minutes.com or send us a DM. All it takes is 20 minutes out of your day to become financially savvy.